Okay, welcome back everyone on this wonderful Motzei Shabbos as we are continuing 3 lines from the bottom of Ayin Aleph Amud Beis. The Gemara said, what are you telling me about Tumah Belua and Tara Belua swallowed Tumah, that it doesn't become Tameh and that it cannot be Metameh? We learned both of that already in Beferish and Mishnahs. So before we start, let's welcome in A.B. Spry, Yaakov Warman, Mark Schafel, Irving Fishbaum, Ben-Zion Cohn, Dr. Guy, Leiby, Mo Kushner, Yitzi Fuchs, Berish Gesserman, Eddie Chazan, Marshall Castle, Dr. Block, Gedalia Engel. It's good to have Gedalia Engel back. Rebel Yafi, Ruvain Shanet, Saba, Nachman Chapler, Michael, Rabbi Kranz, Michael Avram, Danny Vogel, Shelley Zeitlin, Moshe Lehman, Stephen Holtzman, Rabbi Kaniel, Menachem Yamansky, Dr. Tishauer, Chaim Braun, Ilya Shutman, maybe that's Danny Vogel, I'm not sure, and David Helfgott. No, that might be Iran. Okay, so the Gemara says the Chiddush with the rings is where Marshall is very hungry and he swallows 2 rings. No. Says the Gemara, Ki ka'amar rabba k'gain shebola shtei tabois. He swallowed 2 rings. Achas tameya, v'achas tahira. And it's telling us that in his belly, the Tamei Dika ring is not Metame, the Tahor Dika ring. The Lo Metamele Metmeya Tahira. It's not Tamei from the Tamei Dika ring to the Tahor Dika ring. Says the Gemara, wait a second. Then why do we say that when the midwife sticks her hand in, she becomes, and the woman has a dead baby? We said the midwife becomes tamei for 7 days, but her hand is inside. Says the Gemara, "Uber v'chaya, the kishtei tabaz dummy." It's like 2 rings. V'kamatamala uber l'chaya, and the uber is metame the midwife. Says the Gemara, nah, the uber is different because that's destined to come out. Amarabba shani uber hoyel v'sayfalatze. So the Gemara says, and the rings are not coming out of Marshall, Amarava Uba Seifalotses Tabas ain't Seifalotses, that one way or another it's coming out. Amarava Pumpedisai Yode Taima Dahamilsa. The Pumpedisai, the sage from Pumpedisa, know this reason. Omanu Rav Yosef. The Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yudah, Amar Shmuel, Tumazu, the Tumah that this midwife gets when she sticks her hand to take out the fetus, Eina Medivrei Torah, it's not biblical, Ela Medivrei Sefer. Says the Gemara, my Eina Medivrei Torah, Ela Medivrei Sefer. Says the Gemara, Deloy Teim Ali B'Rabbi Kiva Damar Uba B'Meya Yisha Tamei, that the fetus inside a woman is Tamei. Allah filu Rabbi Yishmael the Amar Uber b'mei Yisha Tahar, that an Uber while it's in the woman's tar, still the midwife becomes Tamei midrabbanan. Gazeba Tamei midrabbanan. You know why? Because the baby is considered when it's out as soon as it enters the vaginal canal. Says the Gemara, Gazeba Tamei midrabbanan, my timer. Amar Rav Aisha Gezeira Shema Yoitzi Vlad Chutz Reisha Chutz LePreisner. Maybe it stuck its head out of the birth canal, and once it sticks it out of the birth canal, no, outside of the vaginal canal, outside of the birth canal, and the midwife might not realize it, so therefore we're metama her. Says the Gemara, said, and why is the woman tamei? Iachi isha nami. Says the Gemara, isha margeshes. The woman feels when the baby comes out. Megeshes batzma. So the Gemara says, so let her tell the midwife, be careful now, it's coming out. V'tema la lechaya, says the Gemara, she has other things in her mind. Trida, she has other things in her mind than to tell the midwife that the baby is coming out. So the Gemara says, okay, tell me, what's this reference of Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva? My Rabbi Yishmael or my Rabbi Akiva? What's this reference to Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva? The Tanya, v'kol asher yiga al pnei hasada, when you touch something on the face of the field. Now, that's coming to tell me if it's only on the outside. L'haitzi uber b'mei ha'isha, that a fetus in a mother's womb that's enveloped inside is not metame. Div Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Kiva says no, that's not why it says pnei hasada. That's coming l'rabbi's goylel v'doifek. It's coming to include the sides of a coffin and the cover of a coffin that they're metame. Rabbi Yishmael goylel v'doifek, the sides of the coffin and the cover, that's a hilchas gemirah. That's a halach l'moshe misinai. Says the Gemara of Rabbi Akiva, uber b'mei ha'isha tamei midaraisa minale. How does he know that an uber in the mother's womb is biblically tamei? He has another pasuk. Amar Rabbi Oishia Amar Kra hanogeya b'meis b'nefesh. Clever. One who touches a mace that's inside a nefesh. So that means that the uber inside is tamei. Ezel meis shebenefesh shel adam. That's an uber in the mother's womb. Now, what does Rabbi Yishmael do with this pasuk? Rabbi Yishmael, this comes to teach me a whole different halacha. That a revius dam, which is the smallest amount that a person could live by, the revius dam haba min hamei shemetama. We know that the dam is called the nefesh, right? And so we know this by Karbonis. It says, Ki Adam hu ha-nefesh mechaper. Right? And it says, Shinema ha-negeh b'meis b'nefesh ha-adam. What's the nefesh of the person? Ezel nefesh shel adam shemetame. What's the nefesh of a person that's metame? Haviyayim ezu revi'ez dam. Now Rabbi Akiva doesn't learn that way because Rabbi Akiva says a bigger chiddush. He says that even a revi'ez that comes from two corpses, in other words, a half a revi'us from one corpse and a half a revi'us from another corpse is metama. They combine. Rabbi Kiva tamei da'ama half revi'us dam haba mishnei mesim metame ba'il. Even if it comes from two different mesim, it's a combination. You don't have a revi'us from one or from the other. Only combined, it's still metame, a person that's under the roof with it. The Tanya Rabbi Kiva aimer menayin revi'us dam haba mishnei mesim shemetame ba'il. Shenema, because it says I'll call nafshois meis lo yavai. On the nafshois meis, it doesn't say nefesh meis, nafshois meis. Shtei nefashas, even if it's from two nefashas, and it's dam from two souls, v'shir echad and one share of revius, it's metame ba'ayah. New Mishnah. I know that everybody is very sad to leave this subject, but don't worry, we got another subject.
We don't take an Uber for this subject, right?
You don't need an Uber, but I think after what you eat, you might want to take something else.
Those rings don't go down well.
Now, Behema Mikasha Leiled. Now we move over to an animal. A little change from Marshall. We move over to Elsie. So Behema Mikasha Leiled, Elsie is having a hard delivery. V'haitzi uberes yadai, and it sticks out its foreleg. V'chatcha, and you cut off the foreleg. V'achakat shachad es imai, and then you shech the mother. Habasar tahar, the fetus inside the mother, you could eat it, and it's tahar. Shachad es imai, but if you shech the mother, v'achakach chatcha, and then you cut off the foreleg, so when you shechted the mother, the piece outside became levena. And then when you cut it off, after the fetus became food, it's now maga nevela. It touched the nevela before you cut it off. Habasar maga nevela, divra meir. The Chacham say no. Because when you shecht the animal, although the foreleg is outside, the shechita helps at least to remove the tumas nevela, just like shechita of a treifa removes the tumas nevela. So a chachamim maga treifa shluta. It's touching treifa shluta, which is not metame. I know it's the hand that was stuck outside was at least tar from tumas nevela. Says ma'amatzinu. By way of explanation, the Chacham explained, ma'amatzinu betreifa. Even though you can't eat it, sheshchitasa mitarasa, af shchitas behema, even the shchita of the animal, titar as a aver, is mitar the aver that's stuck out, so that when you cut it off, the fetus is not considered that it has touched an veil, but rather touched the treifa. So Rameya says, I'm sorry, but the comparison is not a good comparison. Amalem Rameya loy. Im tiara shchitas treifa oisa. If shechting a treifa, it takes away the tumas nevela, because dover shegufa, because you're shechting the item itself. The item is a treifa, and you're shechting it, so since you're shechting the item itself, it removes the tumas nevela. Titar es ha'ever, should the shechita of the mother be matar, the limb of the fetus that's sticking out, dover she'ena gufa, something that's not its body? So now the Mishnah, which is a little bit uncharacteristic of the Mishnah, the Mishnah says, we take it for granted that when you shecht the treifa, it takes off the tumas nevela. Where do we know this from? Took us till Chulin Daf to ask this question. Ask the Gemara, minayin l'treifa shchitasa mitarasa. So the Gemara says, I'll tell you how we know. Behema tameya asura ba'achila, af treifa asura ba'achila. Behema tameya is also to be eaten, and a treifa is also to be eaten. Says the Gemara, and this is by way of a question. In other words, the Gemara follows up that it would seem to be that the shechita shouldn't take away the esinavela, because behemoth tamei asura b'achila, a camel is also to eat. Af treifa asura b'achila. Ma behemoth tamei ain't shechitasa mitaras. If you shech the camel, it doesn't take away its tumah. Af treifa loy titarena. So also a treifa shouldn't be mataret. Loy titarena shchita. So the Gemara says, yeah, don't compare a behemoth tmeya. A behemoth tmeya never had a shasa kosher. A camel was never able to be eaten. This treifa had a shasa kosher before it got a perforated membrane of the brain. Before it got a tear along the majority of the trachea. Says the Gemara, it never had a time when it was permitted. Time of betreifa, it had a time that it was permitted. Says the Gemara, then at least according to your argument, if it was born a treifa from the womb, how do we know that if we shecht it, it removes the tumas nevela? There, it didn't have a shasa kaisha. Says the Gemara, it never has in its species shchita. Time of betreifa, even though this one was born from the womb treifa, but its species does have a shasa kaisha. Sheyesh b'mina shchita, it has in its type shchita. Taka, the Gemara says, according to this, in those days, where a large animal that has a gestation period of 9 months, if it was born in the 8th month, it never lived. So that's a species that never lives. So there, Taka, if you shecht it, it doesn't remove the nevela. Ben shmoina chai, an 8-month-old, even that's alive, ein shchitasa mitarasai. Its shchita is not matarit. Lefisha ein b'mina shchita, because it never lives. So now, The Gemara asks a question. It's a very interesting question. We said that if the limb that sticks out, if you cut it off after you shechted the mother, so according to Reb Meir, the fetus inside touched the limb outside, which is a nevela, and therefore it becomes tamei as maga nevela. But the question is, the touching is a concealed tumah, because the contact is inside. So the Gemara says, "Amai tumas beis hasasarim hi." This is called concealed tumah. That means, because what's matame? The inside of the animal. But it touched it in its interior. Interior tumah, interior contact is not tamei. Amai tumas beis hasasarim. It's a tumah in a concealed area. V'tumas beis hasasarim lo mitamya. Says the Gemara, it must be going according to Reb Meir. See, Reb Meir holds that tumas beis hasasarim is mitameh. Reb Meir holds the Tanya, the Tanan, shloisha al shloisha, a piece of fabric which is 3 by 3 tvachim. Now 3 by 3 tvachim is the minimum that it's mekame kabel tumah from the medris or the mishkav of a zav, from the sitting up, let's say, of a zav. So he says shloisha al shloisha shenechlak. If it was 3 by 3 tvachim and it's split, tar min medris, it's tar from tumas medris, because now it's not 3 by 3 anymore, so it can't have tumas medris. Aval tamei maga medris, but it's tamei because it touched medris. Why? Because when you're cutting it on the interior, it touched each other before it divided. So therefore you see that concealed tumah counts. Divrei Meir. Says the Gemara, v'chi be'ezem medris nagazeh. Where did it touch? It's only concealed tumah. Ela she'im naga b'zav. If instead of sitting on it, the zav stepped on it barefoot, so even though it's not a kabel tumah medris, but since it's a kabel tumah's negia, as long as it's 3 by 3 finger breadths, el she'im naga b'zav sheyei tamei maga zav. So the Gemara says, so you see, who holds that the connection inside is considered a connection, a concealed connection is considered a connection? Reb Meir. So the Gemara says, no. That's only 3 by 3 that got split. Aval shalosh al shalosh habois mibeged gadol. But if it was 3 by 3 finger breadths that came from a large beged, so that the large beged still remains tumas medris, then that connection inside b'shas prishasan me'avihen, when you pulled it away from the main item that still remains tamei medris, even after it separated, some of the threads touch when they're exposed. B'shas prishasan me'avian, when you're separating it from the source, which is very big, so it retains tumas medris, mekablas tuma me'avian. It's mekabel tuma because pieces of the threads touch when it's exposed. And the Gemara says here also, Hanami, when you're cutting the limb, as you're cutting it, pieces that are exposed will touch the fetus, and that's not tuma stuma, that's not concealed tuma. Hasanami pre-shasan me'aver, the separation of the fetus from the aver, mikabel tuma me'aver, because some of the pieces, once they're exposed, contact each other, and it's not a tuma cesarean, it's not a hidden tuma. Okay. So now, Rabbi Isai, after Marshall had a real hearty appetite tonight, now we're going to do the Mishnah.
I gotta go get rid of those rings.
Now we're going to do the Mishnah Yomis, which is not hard tonight. It's not a hard Mishnah Yomis. Tomorrow, next week's shir, I believe, is still 9:05. And let's see what else. Okay, we're just going to pause a minute now again to refix the machinery.